Guys, here I am outside the car, and I have the can of seafoam. This is the one can that actually comes with the long straw, the little hose at the end so that you can bend the straw. And this thing is the 12-ounce can right here. I picked it up on Amazon. You can get a pack of 2 of these, I think, for $20 on Amazon. They're very hard to find in the store, so might want to get them on Amazon. You only need one, and you don't need the whole can, but from what I've seen, you use most of it. So I've gone ahead and skipped the step of removing this, but it's pretty straightforward. This is the oxygen sensor. As you can see, it's a little dirty, so but it seems to be working, so I'm not going to replace it. So basically, the oxygen sensor is connected right here in the front of the engine on the exhaust manifold, and it's routed through this clip here and then connected to this little connector here. Now this connector is actually clipped on here, but because it's old plastic, it actually snapped off, but it's okay. You can always zip tie it, you know, put it back in place instead of letting it dangle. So once you disconnect that by simply, here's the connector, you press here and you pull back, press and pull back, disconnect it from there, but you got to disconnect it before you start removing it. That way you can turn it and you're not twisting the wire. Now the socket that you're going to use to remove that is this here. This is a special, actually I have an adapter here. This is an adapter, but basically this is the socket. It's a special socket for the oxygen sensors, and it comes in this little pack right here. This is a 3/8 offset oxygen sensor wrench. As you can see, this is a Pittsburgh brand. And I used a 1/2 inch ratchet with a 1/2 inch extension and a 1/2 inch adapter because it's a 3/8. And the reason I did this is because these oxygen sensors, they kind of get themselves pretty tight because they're under constant heat. So once you put a little leverage on that, it'll loosen up and take it off, and then you're ready. You're ready to try the seafoam. So let's see if this thing actually works. All right, so here we go. I have the little straw put together. This little black piece that came with it is to help you get it curved or keep it curved if you're in a tight spot. But in my case, I took it off. I don't need it. Okay, so we put the straw in as close as we can, and it keeps popping off, guys. So you got to be careful with that. Make sure that thing is on there nice so it doesn't pop off on you when you are spraying. It's probably the hardest part of this job. There we go. Okay, I got the can set in a place where I can push the button down. And what we're going to do is, as we're spraying, we're going to move this little straw around. The whole thing is you want to get the whole top of the catalytic converter, which sits just below this opening. Here we go. Okay. So here I am spraying the seafoam in there. I'm going to stop to reposition the straw so I'm not wasting this stuff. And you're just going to spray most of the can inside the opening, swirling it around as much as you can so you can coat the entire top opening of the catalytic converter. As you can see, I'll pull it all over. You see how it's spraying in there? So you want to keep that stream going, move it around as much as I can. And like I said, you want to use most of the can. You want to make sure you can clean this as best as possible. And from what I've researched, this is the only way to really clean it up without having to actually remove it. All right, let's see how much of the can we have left. And we really haven't done much. So we're going to go ahead and keep going. Like I said, the hardest part of this is just keeping the straw there. So find a place where you can rest the can, kind of hold the straw and press the button at the same time while maneuvering the other end of the straw into the hole. Okay guys, so one thing I wanted to mention, because I've seen a lot of people comment on this on the other videos, is they're saying, why would you put seafoam into your engine? It's going to dry out the cylinders and all that stuff. It says, this is not going into the engine. This is going into the exhaust. This is the point past the engine. Remember, this is the exhaust manifold right here. So anything that you put into this opening is going directly into the exhaust. It's causing no harm to the engine. So just something to keep in mind, you know, for those people that like to comment saying you shouldn't be putting that into the engine. So guys, now the only thing we have to do is wait about 20 minutes before we start the car. And of course, when you start the car, it's going to smoke a lot because all of that, you know, seafoam that's in the exhaust. And that should pretty much clear out the catalytic converter. We'll see how true that is. All right, guys, so now we're going to put the oxygen sensor back on while we wait 20 minutes for that, you know, to soak up. And I'm going to use a little anti-seize over here so that the next time we have to pull this oxygen sensor out, it won't be so hard. Now, when you put the anti-seize on here, you only want to get it on the threads. Try not to get any on the tip because that's the actual sensor there, and you don't want to interfere with that. So just get a little bit on the threads. You don't have to go crazy. As you can see there, just a little bit. It'll help keep it from sticking. That way the next time this needs to be serviced, it comes off a little easier. Then you get carefully threaded into the hole. Start it off by hand so you don't cross thread this. Always start it off by hand, make sure it's going in, and then you attach the socket to finish tightening it up. Okay, so basically I turned it as far as I could with my hands until it stops. That's when you go ahead and put in the socket and give it a nice snug. Since there's not a lot of room to turn in here, you know, you turn by hand until you can't turn it anymore, and then you just tighten it. There we go. It doesn't turn very much after that. That's all you basically need. Okay, so that's nice and tight now. And now the last thing we have to do is route the wire the same way that it came off. Now on this particular, you know, the 2016 Chevy Sonic 1.8, there's a small aluminum clamp here just underneath the valves. That's where the wire clips onto that, just holds it in place, keeps it from moving around. Bring it back here in front of this bracket here, under this wiring harness, and right to the clip. Now it only goes in one way, so you can't get it wrong. Oh, before I put that in, for good measure, I'm going to put a little bit of dielectric grease on here. What dielectric grease does, it keeps water from seeping in here, so you don't have any problems with the electrical later. So just put a little dab, doesn't take a whole lot. And then you connect this together. When you hear that click, it's safely attached. In my case, like I said, when I was removing this, I kind of snapped the clip that holds this whole thing in place. So I'm just going to zip tie it. But sorry guys, here is what I use. Again, you can get these things on Amazon. This is the liquid wrench anti-seize dielectric grease, and that just keeps moisture out of the electrical contacts. This is good in a lot of places. Okay, so here we go. Just going to grab this zip tie, wrap it around here as best as I can. The whole purpose of this is to keep this wiring harness from moving around on you as you're driving. You don't want it getting into a place where it shouldn't be. And the reason I'm showing you this is because it's very possible that it'll snap also when you're doing it. So, but it, you know, simple zip tie can fix the problem, hold everything in place, and there you go. She's good to go. She's in. And now just cut the excess plastic off the zip tie, and she's back in place. So there you go. That's how you mount the upper oxygen sensor. So now guys, it's just a matter of driving this car around and see what happens, you know, and I'll let you know if the seafoam worked or not to clean the catalytic converter without having to remove it. As you saw, I have a lot of miles on this car, so chances are this catalytic converter, which is the original one, is pretty dirty. Let's keep our fingers crossed that this works. All right guys, it's been probably an hour now since I sprayed that, and I'm gonna go ahead and start the car. And it's gonna smoke a lot at first because remember, all that fluid is sitting in the exhaust system, but after a couple of minutes all that dissipates, and hopefully it takes care of the code that we have on there. Let's see what happens. right, guys, so as you saw there, it's smoking out. So after a couple of minutes, you idle it maybe 2,000 RPMs, it starts to dissipate. Once the exhaust gets hot, it basically just eliminates all that seafoam that's in the system. So let me show you guys what the gauges looks like now. Okay, so as you can see, I went ahead and I reset the check engine light. And I'm just basically idling here, you know, smoking out the rest of the seafoam out of the exhaust. And as you can see, the mileage 197,442 hasn't changed. I'm going to drive this car for a day or two and see if that check engine light comes on, or if actually this cleared it up. Let's see what happens, guys. Thanks again. Stay tuned. Okay, so here's the latest update. I've driven about 134 miles already since I did the seafoam. The 134 miles was made up of both long drives, short drives, and a couple of, you know, starts and stops. And the check engine light has not come back on. Normally it would come back on before that when I was using the other stuff, like the stuff that you put into the gas tank and let it run through the fuel system. So apparently the seafoam as of now seems to be working. We're gonna go ahead and drive a little more, maybe put another 100 miles, 100 and somewhat miles on it, and give you the final on it and see if that check engine light stays off. The one thing I'm gonna say that I've noticed right away is the definitely improvement in acceleration. It accelerates a lot smoother, and it's got some real pep to it now. You know, when you push that gas pedal, you actually feel it. So, you know, it definitely did some improvement, you know, by helping improve the acceleration and, you know, overall how the car feels when it's driving. So we got a plus there already. So even if the light does come back on, which I hope it doesn't, at least we've done something good for the car. So let's go ahead and see what happens in about another 110 miles. So there's the gauge there. As you can see, the mileage now is 197,576. So that's 134 miles from when I did the service. Well, guys, the verdict is in. I have driven 258 miles since I did the seafoam treatment. And here's the results. Are you guys ready? There you go. The check engine light is still off and the car is running great. So basically, it just tells me that the seafoam actually worked, did the trick. So if you guys have the same problem, go ahead and give it a shot. What have you got to lose? $10. That's all it takes. So there you have it, guys. It works. For a small $10 investment on that one seafoam can, you guys can take care of that problem as well. If you found this very helpful, please take the time to like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing is very important to me because it helps me, you know, increase my followers on YouTube and help me also create more videos, more DIYs, and more product reviews. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button right down there on the left. What are you waiting for? Click on it now. And, you know, I'll be bringing you more content. This video was not sponsored by Seafoam. I spent my own money on this. This was my own honest, unbiased review. And hey, if Seafoam is watching this video, hey, why not send me a couple of cans so I can give them away to my followers on YouTube? That would be a great idea, right? So yeah, like I said, make sure that you subscribe. That way when I post more content, you guys will be notified. And when I do giveaways, and I do giveaways on my channel, you guys will also be notified. You know, you can win some really cool stuff. A lot of the products I review, I do giveaways. And what have you got to lose? All you have to do is click that little subscribe button down below. All right, guys, thanks again for watching. And I look forward to your comments. I love the comments and I respond to every single one. Take it easy, guys.